Okay, students, we're going to talk about your literary research paper. It's an 8-page research paper plus the works cited uh, entry and the annotated bibliography. Okay? Uh, your research paper is based on a theme, a concept, or an idea, or a character analysis on one of the two major plays we're reading in this class, A Raisin in the Sun by Lauren Hansberry or Fences by August Wilson. You are required to reach both plays, okay? There are quizzes on the plays, and there are discussion boards on Wilson and Hansberry. So you have the choice to do a character analysis based on, you know, on the character of your preference and Hansberry or Wilson. The length of your research paper, as I mentioned before, should be about 8 pages, excluding the works cited entry. Now, first thing first, the first 4 pages are due on the 28th, Sunday, March 28th. However, um, I will give you an extension. I will give you a couple of more days should you need it. Okay? Should you need an extra 2 or 3 days to write an effective, a good, and A paper, um, you can turn it in on the 31st, March 31st. But the original due date is March 28th. 31st is actually a Wednesday. Okay, that is next Wednesday. Okay, you're welcome to do so. I will not take any points off. I will not penalize you for tardy. So I want you to turn in the first 4 pages of the paper. Um, the final research project will include um, an annotated bibliography. I'm going to talk about this later, maybe in the second week of April. I'm going to post a sample, and I'm going to give you some really good resources how to create one. And you have to have a works cited page. The paper must be written uh, in the MLA style and format. And your works cited page, which is the last page of your essay, you should include 4 to 5 secondary sources, 4 to 5 secondary sources, in addition to your primary text. Let's say, should you choose to do your research paper on a raisin in the sun, so a raisin in the sun is your primary source. Should you choose to do it on fences, fences will be considered as your primary source. So we have your primary source, that's one source, and you need 4 to 5 secondary sources. So you're going to create a detailed entry for each one in your works cited page, providing the name of the author, the title of the page, the date of publication, and page number. Okay, so I want you to find 4 to 5 good peer-reviewed articles, peer-reviewed. You can access peer-review articles through our library's database. Okay, the school spends a lot of money on those resources for us, guys. Let's use them. Please do not list or cite references from Wikipedia, SparkNotes, EndNotes, Cliff Notes, personal blogs, or non-academic websites among your sources. Now, I have no objection that you would use any of those sources that I cited for background. You can use them to gain a better background about the play. I have no problem, but you should not cite any of those websites in your essay. Now, so the research paper is divided in two parts. The first half is due on the 28th, and then the second half is due on the 8th. On the April 18th, I'm sorry. First half, March 28th. Second half, April 18th. Now, when you submit the first 4 pages to me on the 28th, in 2 weeks, okay, 2 weeks, maybe a week and a half, I'm gonna grade the first half to you, and I'm gonna submit them to you. You're gonna see my marks, my comments on your paper. You're going to implement the changes I suggested, I recommended, okay? Because on the 18th, you're going to submit a corrected version of the first 4 pages plus the 4 new pages you will be writing, plus your works cited page and your annotated bibliography. Let me repeat that again, because I really want you to capture this. You're writing an 8-page paper excluding the annotated bibliography and the works cited page. On March 28th, the first 4 pages is due. You do not need to include the works cited page for the first 4 pages, because you're going to do that when you submit the final paper on the 18th of April. Okay, so when you submit your first half of the paper to me on March 28th, a week later, I am going to grade your work. I'm going to make comments on your papers, on your essays. I want you to look at your essays carefully. Look at my notes, my comments carefully. Then you're going to revise that first 4 pages. On the 18th, you're going to submit to me the revised version of the first half that you submitted to me, with the new 4 pages you have written since then, plus your works cited page and your annotated bibliography. Okay? I hope that makes sense to you. Now, I went over the themes already in my previous video. I discussed the major themes and fences in Lauren Hansberry's play A Raisin in the Sun, right? Like the American dream in A Raisin in the Sun, religion versus secularism, women and femininity, feminism, which is different than femininity, manhood and masculinity, family, Black internationalism, black solidarity, racial segregation, class relations. Okay, let me give you some tips, some good tips how to write a good research paper, English paper. Now, let's begin about the title of the essay. The essay should have a good title that gives direction of the general message or argument to be addressed in it. By looking at the title, your reader should have a great idea, should have a good idea where this paper is going. Every paper needs a title, and the title has to do with the theme to be discussed or addressed in the essay. Your introduction. Then make sure you have a good introduction. The introduction of the essay provides to the reader a general perspective or an overview of the subject to be analyzed in the essay. The introduction is not the space to provide detailed commentaries or cite text or do a careful examination. It should be about 5 to 6 full grammatical sentences. Let's talk about the thesis statement. Now, the introduction does not have, excuse me, the introduction must have, a thesis statement. The thesis statement is usually placed at the very end of the introduction, and is the very last sentence in the intro. The thesis statement makes a claim, it makes an assertion, it articulates a position, it communicates a value judgment about the essay. In other words, the thesis statement expresses your position, your argument on the subject matter. The thesis should not be broad or vague. It should not be a question. A thesis statement cannot be a question or a citation from a text or from a famous person, like your favorite superstar, like Harrison Ford, Denzel Washington, or you name it, Bob Marley, or the Beatles. No, this should not be your thesis statement. The thesis statement is a sentence in your own words and your own vocabulary that you formulate to articulate a position and argument. The thesis statement is one sentence. It's not two or three. It's one. Let me talk about the first and second person objective. You should not write in the first person perspective. That means the use of I, the use of my, the use of me or mine. Or should you not write on the second person perspective? You should not use you, your, yours, unless you are writing a narrative essay, which we're not doing in this class. This is ENT 1102. A narrative essay or a personal essay. You should be writing in the third person perspective. Make sure you indent the first sentence that introduces the paragraph and justify the entire text, or justify the text, the essay. I want to talk about the structure of the essay. The structure of the paragraph is very different. The structure of the paragraph in a literary essay, okay, is very different than other essays for your other classes. First, a good paragraph should be about 5 to 6 full sentences. 5 to 6 full, grammatical, coherent, unified sentences. Do not exceed 6 sentences. So the structure of the paragraph should include the following. It should have a topic sentence. Okay? That means a sentence that states a claim at the beginning of the paragraph. The topic sentence cannot be a question or a famous quote. It is a sentence and using your own words, using your own language, followed by careful supporting details or evidence. The supporting details should be from the primary text, a raisin in the sun, or if you're writing on fences, and literary criticism, outside sources. Now, a paragraph, an English paragraph, a paragraph for an English essay should have about 5 to 6 things, elements. First, I mentioned topic sentence. The topic sentence, just like your thesis statement, makes a claim. It makes an argument for the paragraph, not for the essay, for the paragraph to be discussed. It tells the reader where the paragraph is going. It cannot be a question or a citation. It is expressed in one full, grammatical, coherent, unified sentence. The topic sentence focuses on a specific idea. The specific idea the paragraph will talk about. It should not be broad or vague. Second thing, you're going to provide supporting details. That means you're going to quote from the text, quote from Raisin in the Sun, or quote from Fences. Okay? Write out full sentences to substantiate your claims or interpretation. No sentence fragments, no run-on sentences, make sure all your sentences in the essay are coherent and unified. Then after you cite supporting details, you're going to use outside sources. You're going to use an outside source to substantiate your topic sentence or the supporting details from the outside source. So your outside source, is part of your supporting details. The sources in the works cited page should be cited. There are your outside sources. Now, after you cite, you incorporate an outside source. Okay? You have to explain the meaning of that quote or paragraph or paraphrase or summary you did for the reader. Remember, as a writer, you are a teacher. Your ultimate goal is to teach your reader about that new theme or concept you are investigating in your essay. So, I want you to be able to analyze the source you are citing. I want you to be able to analyze it cogently and intelligently. And the final analysis, you will close the paragraph with your personal interpretation as to inform the reader about your thinking, your position about what that author or source states. So you're going to interact with your sources, use a quotation from this text to support your interpretation. You need to show the reader your interpretation is informed by a close reading of the text. This is what makes an English paper different. The text is our guide. We perform close readings of the text so we can be informed, so we can be educated, we can be instructed by the text. Again, I just want to reiterate the parts of the paragraph that I mentioned. Topic sentence, quote the original text to support your topic sentence, use or quote an outside source, explain the source, then conclude with a final analysis. You can get this done in 6 sentences. Okay? Make sure you have a quote in every paragraph. Now, I want you to avoid fragments. Make sure in your works cited page, that's for the 18th, April 18th. Make sure you include all the sources in your essay. All the sources you have cited in your essay. Make sure your essay has a good conclusion. The goal of the conclusion is to reiterate the overall argument you made in that essay. It should stress the significance of the ideas you developed, you communicated within that essay. I hope that was useful to you. Have an awesome day. Thank you.